address or something. But
Skype
is on.
hi guys, and welcome to the governance discussion. Today is the 26th of January, and we have quite a bit of activity live on Mainnet as well, surprisingly. Typically not the case. Can you guys see my screen well?
all good.
Awesome. So yeah, so we have the Dxd Buyback Extension number 5. So this is extending our buyback program by a further $1 million, although this was passed at previous price. Thank you. Okay. So this is an extension of a further $1 million to our buyback extension. However, the proposal was passed before the significant market price volatility we've seen over the past week or so. So it's actually an extension for 305 Ether. So this will go to the DXdao Multi-Sig on Mainnet, which will then turn it into ETH and bridge it over directly to the GPV1 relayer on Gnosis Chain. So that's what we've done last time as well. And that kind of facilitates operations and just eases the number of proposals we have to do on Mainnet to actually post these orders consistently. And one other note is that it also transfers a further 10 ETH, so it's a 315 total, and 10 ETH to also be wrapped into WETH and just deposited into the xDXdao treasury, as people claim. Given that the worker proposals happen on Gnosis Chain, I guess is the correct word now. People can also claim their WETH on ETH expenses they had over there, and we're running quite low on ETH on Gnosis Chain, so that'll be nice to just have a bit of liquidity in the treasury over there. And then I'll just nothing related to me. Then we have the HATS proposal. So this proposal sends 790 DXD to be deposited into the HATS finance vault. So it's also, depending on DXD price, close to $1 million, probably a bit less right now. And that's also, going through in less than a day. The buyback proposal is also going through in roughly 20 hours. And we already actually have proposals lined up on xDXdao. So as soon as these funds are in, the buybacks will start kicking in as well. And we have two other...
Dave, you said close to $1 million. Yeah.
$500,000, right?
Yeah, we're aiming for $500,000, but I think it's less than that, right? Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say, yeah. Thanks for the correction. And then we have the two proposals to provide to deposit into Swapr. So we have 415 ETH going to the xDXdao base alongside with 1.15 million xDXdao. Again, the ETH, I don't know when this proposal was actually submitted a bit more recently, so some of the price action might already be priced into there. But these also finishing in 5 days, and that's to provide liquidity on Swapr. And then one thing actually, which I believe, go ahead.
Just on those, were you done with those two?
Yeah.
So just a note on those two, as I was crafting them, and check with you and also with Chris, but just the reason. So these are two large amounts. I think it's good to have them in two separate proposals, but also because it's mainnet and ETH has to go. We should make sure this is all correct. The ETH has to go through the relayer. It has to be its own proposal because it has to send to a different address than the DAI, which goes directly to the multi-chain multi-sig. So even if we could do them, if we wanted to do them in one proposal, we're not able to because we're using the relayer for the ETH amount, but then there's no relayer for the DAI. Exactly. And if ETH is changed, it's not exactly 1.15 million anymore, but by the time this passes, it may be roughly equal. So I guess the plan will be to put whichever is the lower amount, put that into the pool, and then if there is a balance left over, I guess we could either hold it there for a little bit, send some more of the other assets as part of like future. If we start doing some other pairs as well, we could top it up to put whatever the balance is left if needed to, but it should be roughly. It would still put a decent chunk in the pair, I think. So
yeah, totally. And to check the relay, one can just look up the address on Etherscan, check the receiver, and the receiver should be the Dev Multi-Sig or like the multi-chain multi-sig. And yeah, like
on that, we have a bunch of relayers now, and like that you told me like that's the best way to check like the relayer is actually to look at past use of relayers in proposals and things. Is there a place where we have all the relayers in a public documentation thing? Like most people would not know how to do this stuff, right? Like, so how do we, if the 5 people that do this stuff disappear, how do we make sure that other people are aware of all these relayers and where they are and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's a good point. I don't think we have that, Sky. I mean, I guess you could probably piece it together through the proposals themselves.
Yeah.
But like to your point, I was actually planning on voting for this one last night, and I was looking at it, and then I noticed that it went to I looked at the contract, and I noticed that it had not had that much activity on it because this is the ETH relayer contract for the new multi-chain multi-sig, whereas we've been using the other multi-sig for the ETH relayer contracts. So that's the one that if you go through the history, you can see all the transactions. So that just like, I wanted to like double check with you, but hearing it here now from you makes sense.
Yeah, and we have used it at least once before to the multi-chain.
Yeah, and I think like what I always check, and this is like a really nice thing. I mean, typically you see not the branding, you see caneyfork.eth or dlabs.eth, which means like, and it'll say what we got 6 days. This is I think the multi-sig, and yeah, they're companies that live in the metaverse. But like that's a way of saying, oh, these contracts have been used frequently by DXdao rep holders. Like this is relying on the trust that you trust ENS. But I think like you've kind of like seen that there. But like this one was a little scary when I first looked at it because it's like the Swapr deployer is a little bit different than caneyfork.eth. But yeah, we had tried this ETH relayer contract out. So I think this proposal should be good to go. I do think it will probably let us have a little bit more DAI than ETH, depending on the market. But it could be like somewhat large amounts. Like right now, it would be with a 2,600 ETH, it would be $80,000 extra of xDAI. And we actually also already have, I think it's like, I'm looking, like 15 or 20 ETH in the, 9 ETH in the Swapr relayer contract already. So maybe we should kind of consolidate these after this next transfer and get those all back in the treasury there. It also kind of brings up maybe some of the other moves with DPI and WETH that we want to look at. But I think this is a great first step.
And just a little more color on why it's a relayer for ETH and not for the DAI. To get a little bit technical, it's because when you send ETH, you're calling what's called the fallback function on a smart contract. And because the DAO stack governance contracts we have on Mainnet are old, they are using a send function that actually like limits the amount of gas that can be used by the recipient contract. And at the Berlin hard fork that happened, I think like a year ago or something, that meant that for certain recipients, like including Gnosis safe multi-sigs, the gas constriction was like getting exceeded by that fallback function in the Gnosis safe. So basically the DAO could no longer send ETH directly to Gnosis safes, right? So that's why we have to do relayers for ETH transfers. ERC20s, on the other hand, that's different than the native currency Ether. You're actually like calling the function on the ERC20 contract itself. So that doesn't really get affected by these technical problems we have on Mainnet.
if the main treasury, if there was a way, I don't know if it can do it directly, but yeah, if we held WETH instead of ETH, then like we could have done this proposal with WETH and DAI like in one proposal and things like that. Is it safer to like just start using always WETH instead of using relayers?
I mean, that's pretty much what we've done on xDAI, right? When we bridge funds now to xDAI, we just send over wrapped xDAI. We spoke about it as well on Mainnet. The thing is, like, you would still have to move the Ether out through a relayer to then wrap it, So
yeah, you have to do that extra step. So I don't see a big benefit to it. Yeah, and the other thing that's not much of a benefit is I don't think you can send two different ERC20 tokens in one proposal anyways.
Correct. And also people, just how the UI is done, people always, like, we had a lot of wrapped xDAI in the xDAI treasury, but people just claimed xDAI, because just the UI is built that way that you put in your xDAI amount. But the good thing is, if we just bridge over wrapped xDAI, we can unwrap it directly from the treasury, and we can even trade wrapped xDAI on Gnosis Chain to USDC, to any other stable that's in the 3 pool. So that's USDC, Tether, and wrapped xDAI. So on Gnosis Chain, it definitely makes sense because we're doing that step anyway, right? We have to bridge funds over. But yeah.
Wait, on xDAI, sorry, do we have the same?
Yeah.
We have the same issue on xDAI?
Yeah, because we're using a lot of the DAO stack contracts still and voting machine.
With the native currency, yeah. So the key thing here is it's the fallback function is called by the native.
So
transfer,
so did we get lucky with the Atlantis World proposal?
So it depends on how the receive function is implemented on smart contract, right? So I mean, John, I think you can.
So originally the Atlantis World proposal asked for xDAI, 40,000 xDAI to a safe address. They happen to use a mainnet safe address, which is obviously incorrect. They since have the safe address also on xDAI, but even if they had that, which they do now, they asked for xDAI, it wouldn't have gone to the safe.
It just wouldn't have gone through. Problem. Yeah, but it wouldn't, like, the funds wouldn't have been lost. If that, I'm not sure exactly, but the worst case scenario would have been that they would have to resubmit a proposal. Like, the transaction would just fail. No, but it's a problem we had as well with funds.
Yeah. You sure they can't get lost?
No. The transaction fails. They don't get lost.
Yeah, the funds don't get transferred.
Yeah. It's an EOA too in the
So what they did is they used an EOA, but like it's not very clear. Like it doesn't say in the proposal this is an EOA. Like it's easy to make mistakes between EOAs and smart contract wallets, right?
But
you're saying we can't mistakenly send ETH to get it lost through a proposal to a smart contract wallet, but we can lose like ERC20 if we send it to the relayer.
Yeah, because the relayer doesn't have the ability to withdraw ERC20 tokens. That's why.
Yeah. Should the relayers have that ability?
It would be a nice extra feature if it doesn't already yet.
Yeah, I do think the Atlantis, because I did not think about it for them, or we have to be thinking about that because some people do use smart contracts on Gnosis Chain.
But I mean, smart relayers themselves are smart contracts, right? And they can receive ETH. So it's not necessarily that every smart contract cannot receive them. It depends.
So how do you know?
You need to. It's the fallback function or like the receive function, right, John? Or implemented on the contract?
Sorry, I was finding the mute button there. Yeah, exactly. Like it depends on how the smart contract implements the fallback function.
But I assume that Gnosis Safe on Gnosis Chain has the same problem with xDAI as Gnosis Save on Ethereum mainnet with
Well, and I think the rule of thumb is for the legacy DAO stack stuff, you want to avoid sending native currency to a smart contract. That's the way to be safe. Although, like in theory, you could have a smart contract which doesn't have the problem, like the E3 layer itself, but you don't want to. You want to avoid sending it to unknown entities that are smart contracts. For now, like you said, DXvote will solve this.
Yeah, and DXvote. I mean, maybe Ross, this is a good thing, like having warnings. So Gnosis Safe has a really good, like they always have at their top, they have warnings. Sorry, not Gnosis Safe. Maybe it's CowSwap. They put warnings on latest things that are hacks or something, like don't make this mistake, or on Gnosis Safe, don't send to the same wallet on another chain because you might not have that safe on that chain. It's probably worth putting a warning on DXvote that says don't send native tokens to smart contract wallets, because most people in the world will not know this.
We need to do it by scheme because we don't want to scare people away from that when it is something that we can do with governance. It's just something we can't do with the old schemes. But yeah, we can do that.
Gotcha.
It'd be useful actually. Maybe I think generally some DXdoc stuff about this more operational side of governance, like relayers, would be good. It would also be nice to have a list of don't do's. I guess the only one might just be this, but not sending to that would be nice for the Gov team to have, that we could make warnings for not doing these things.
I guess
I don't know about option.
I guess you could even query the address to see if it's a smart contract, and then just show the warning when the address is actually a smart contract, right?
How do you? I don't know how you do check it's a smart contract.
Yeah, so we've also had this issue, and we actually still don't know the answer. Is there were some scenarios with the Daoist where, we wanted to send either a native token or an ERC20 to the Daoist, and the Daoist was actually a Moloch DAO address, whether it's on Mainnet or on xDAI, and it's not it's still not fully clear, and I don't think we have the answer on whether or not that address can actually receive a token, either a native token or ERC20 directly from a proposal on by DXdao on Mainnet or xDAI.
Yeah, ERC20 should work for everything. The issue should really only be a native token, if at all. Yeah.
From our side, I mean, there's only so much we can do if it's not allowed from their side, or they have some strange architecture there. I also take this opportunity to plug the registration of the QuickWalletScheme in xDAI. Obviously, it doesn't solve all their problems, but it's once we start getting these more tested in xDAI, we can hopefully not have this issue anymore. Eventually, obviously, we'll be all on the new schemes, and so that's live in xDAI. And if you would like, there's the forum post walking through it, and the more eyes we get to verifying that the proposal, the better.
Yeah, and then there's an assumption that people know what an EOA is or a smart contract wallet, and so if we're ever doing a proposal for someone or an investment or DX Ventures, whatever, and then we're always oh, what's your wallet? And your wallet, and it's is your wallet EOA wallet or a smart contract wallet or a DAO
or a hardware wallet
or a hardware wallet? They may say, oh yeah, it's a this wallet, and their word is not good enough to back up a proposal, right? Because there has to be ways to verify it. A lot of people don't know what EOA even means, right?
Well, I didn't.
I mean, is a hardware wallet an EOA wallet?
No. I mean, yes, it is.
Yeah,
but an EOA could also not be a hardware wallet.
The thing is, I might be wrong, but I don't think there's any on-chain way of verifying that, is there?
Yes, there is. You can all of the block explorers have it for every address.
Okay.
If you look on Etherscan,
how do you actually
Block
You just
Scout,
have
they
to-
have a little.
You just have to trust a centralized counterparty to tell you if it's okay.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, like, yeah,
It's
they've
like
got-
in
they're trying to
Etherscan,
move
we
away from
trust.
doing that at all. That also because their APIs kind of suck and they're down quite often.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess I'm assuming if Etherscan can find it, that like anyone can find it because they're probably just reading it from.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's
you would
definitely
hope that, but it's not. I mean, not
no.
all
There's
of the
definitely
data
a
is
way
just-
to.
Well, the
Okay,
easiest
right.
way is to you just query the first transaction ever made on the given address, and if it's a deployment of a contract, it's a smart contract address.
Okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
And if it's just transfer, it means it's an EOA address because you don't need to deploy it.
But on the hardware wallet point, like in my mind at least, like hardware wallet is more referring to like the fact that you have a piece of hardware that is storing the private key. I think as far as I know, they're all EOAs, but I suppose hypothetically you could have a hardware wallet that is storing the private keys for a smart contract, right? I don't know.
I mean, Bitcoin has multi-sig hardware wallets, but you can't. That's not the smart contract. So I don't
I mean,
know.
but a smart contract doesn't have private keys, right? So what would
Right.
the hardware wallet be storing?
The private keys for the addresses that can control the. But yeah, you're right.
But
Like, I
then,
mean,
then
you're
that's,
right,
I
you're
already
right.
have that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like What is it? This
Very
is Sky. Where
meta,
Sky?
meta.
Well, this is where Sky pitches multi-party computation.
But yeah, should we? That was a brief interlude. Should we keep going with the proposals? Also, because Ross already anticipated some exciting XDAO stuff in the chat. But yeah, and then on mainnet we have one other proposal left, which is actually reimbursing Tren, who had accidentally sent roughly 130 USDC to the DXdao bonding curve, and so he now has a proposal up to get this amount refunded. So we're pretty confident that the bonding curve is upgradable, so we will eventually be able to recover these funds, even though, of course, it's not an immediate priority for us, given that there's a lot of ether in there. So, it's something we want to do in a very secured and audited way and not just rush through it. And also for the DAO itself, the amount is obviously not that significant, although, of course, we do want to retrieve this amount. So rather than him having to wait until we do that, he's already submitted a proposal now to get that USDC refunded. And it's the same address he's requesting it to as well as the address which sent it to the DXdao bonding curve. And USDC contract address is also correct, and USDC is also 6 decimals, so 3 and then 120. Yeah, that seems correct. And that's so that's that last proposal live on mainnet.
And then just quickly on that one, I think that this is, obviously this is like a simple proposal when you think about it, but I think this is a really kind of good example of the governance process of just like kind of coming to a decision, and entering the forum, proposing something, people having a discussion back and forth, and then like ultimately submitting a proposal and getting this there. So like a very simple thing, but I think it's a good example of like a functioning governance process. Assuming this passes, or even if it doesn't, like it's gotten to a proposal, right? That's the kind of key thing.
Yeah, I suppose the extension of this would be actually happening on DXgov, which would be awesome. Like if we could have even like drafts of like a few times he asked back and forth, like, is this correct? Is this the way we're going to do it? It'd be nice if, in a while, we can have a forum where the discussion takes place as well as people like suggesting proposals and then that getting taken forward to an actual proposal.
And even like some preview like of the DAO talk conversation, like a little, like not the whole thing, but like, oh, there were 4 or 5 different like back and forth replies or something. Ross, while I have you here, this is something Dave and I were talking about before. So Dave, can you go to the extension proposal? So I had actually voted on this proposal in the the signed votes, and I broadcasted, I think it was like to the DP1, and it's showing up on mine, but not on Dave's. Is that?
Yeah, it's not supported. So the only part where signed votes are supported, and maybe this is just a beta feature, and so I don't think Augusto's added it yet, like to not show it, but it's only supported on new schemes, which essentially means the one scheme on xDai and Arbitrum.
Got it.
So yeah, it's not supported.
And just because like, for instance, these were two proposals that like I want to support, I want to vote for, like the extension and then like the hats proposal. Someone has already voted for them, so the proposal is going to pass. But like I would like to signal my support, but I don't think it's worth like DXdao paying $150 for that. So it'd be interesting to have like another place for that, and as a use case, I was feeling it here.
Yeah, so the old DAO stack schemes don't have support for the sign voting stuff, so it's not supported there yet.
Got it. Cool. Thanks.
Awesome. And then moving on to Gnosis Chain, which I don't know if this is in production yet, but you can get a sneak preview of Gnosis Chain in the top right.
Hopefully it will be today.
There we go. So a little alpha here on the governance call. We have a number of Discord boosts going through. And then we have buybacks number 114, 115, and 116. So as I mentioned before, these are lined up to pass right after the funds, after the mainnet proposal passes. So we can keep cranking these out as soon as those funds are back into the GPV1 relayer. And then as Ross already mentioned, we have the registration of the new QuickWallet scheme without the ability to do the generic calls, which was the issue on the latest one. Not sure, Ross, if you want to say something else. I know you already touched on it briefly.
Yeah, I can mention it again. We did a bit more of a deep dive last week on the governance call. But you can see in the chat, I linked the proposal itself as well as the DAO Talk forum post that goes along with it. And so there was a few things we're just changing about how we sort of our process around doing these things in DXvote, and so that's why the DAO Talk forum post is there. And so what you should really be doing is following that along to verify everything here is correct. And we would kind of want as many people as possible, because previously it was just really like me and Augusto and a few other people. But yeah, the more eyes we have on this, the better. And it's just registering the QuickWalletScheme, which we found a bug with and then redeployed, but had a human error issue the last time we deployed it. So that's kind of just addressing this. And yeah, once we get this going, there's a few things we can do with it. The main one being the contributor payments, where you can start using the sort of automated UI for that, hopefully shortly. Once it gets registered and we're certain all the permissions can be set properly, we can get going with that.
Yeah, and for anyone interested, last week's call should be on YouTube, right? So if anyone wants to rewatch the detailed walkthrough, that's available there.
Yeah, also if anyone has any issues, you can either post it in the forum or just contact me and I'll take a look at it to check if it's anything important.
Wonderful. And then moving on, we have a number of worker proposals. So we have, just make sure I'm not missing any here. We have the Madusha worker proposal, first half, his new proposal for 2022. We have 0xClom and Keenan's old proposal and his new proposal as well. So the second part of the old one and the new one of 2022. And ultimately, we also have a member balancer for the One Hive trivia quiz, which took place last week, I believe, right? So this is just moving the funds for that, for the trivia awards. And if I'm not mistaken, that's actually all we have on Gnosis Chain. So a couple of good worker proposals up, buybacks are lined up, and the regular DXdao boosts. And we don't have any proposals live on Arbitrum this week. So that kind of wraps up the proposal overview. Not sure if anyone else had anything they wanted to chat about. Yeah, it's a transition from Keenan to 0xClom, I believe now.
0xClom is also on a lot of Etherscan you'll see around.
I think people who don't have their ENS set on multi-sig are not cool.
I was hoping you're going to be a little bit more aggressive. Not cool is.
Well, the call is recorded, so I refrained myself a little bit. No, but definitely everyone should start doing, because the most amazing thing is it also shows up in your DX Vault if you connect your wallet, which I haven't done right now. But yeah, unless there's anything else to be discussed, I think we can cut the recording and maybe even drop off a bit earlier.
Yeah, just before we leave, I'm just throwing 2 links to 2 different posts in DAO Talk from the past week. One from Ross on DXgov, kind of from the product perspective. The recap would be fun to look over. And then, I made a post about increasing DXD's on-chain liquidity. So some polls in there. Hopefully, maybe we'll touch on it next week, and some ideas there. And there's been some good chatter or some good discussion in the market chatter channel in Discord. So we'll likely want to continue that conversation going forward. That's it.